All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the cosmos today, whenever this is finding you. Welcome to Kai Chi Alchemy. You can call me Kachi. This is a space of love, y'all. Welcome back. Today, I am going to be doing another reading from the Ringing Cedars of Russia from book 2, The Ringing Cedars of Russia. And today we're going to be getting into chapter 10. It's called The Ringing Sword of the Bard. Some air energy going on. Oh, if you haven't yet, go onto the community tab of the Kai Chi Alchemy page to find, what is his name? Hermeso Pascal, something like that. I just posted a video of this man doing some percussion and wind instrument stuff with some friends in the water with nothing but like bottles and a flute. Something about that is calling to me in relation to this chapter here. Okay, let's see what we got today. The Ringing Sword of the Bard. What do you mean, Anastasia, by such extraordinary turns of phrase in speaking about the holiday? You pronounced each word in such a tone that every sound was crystal clear all on its own. I tried to reproduce a picture of the holiday with precision, to use detailed images. But what about the words? What particular significance do they have? Upon each word was born a multitude of happy pictures and events, and now they will all come true. For thought and word, you understand, are the principal instrument of the grand Creator, an instrument bestowed not on all that grows with flesh and bones, but just alone to man. Then why doesn't everything that people say come to pass? When the thread between the spoken word and the soul is broken, when the soul is found empty and the image dulled, then what is said, though it be plenty, is as empty as chaotic sound, and nothing can it betoken. That's sheer fantasy. Come on now. You let yourself believe in everything like a naive child. How can it be fantasy, Vladimir? After all, I could give hundreds of examples from the world you live in, and even from your own life, as to what power a word has when it projects the image connected with it. Then give me an example I can understand. An example? Here's one. A person is standing on the stage before an audience and speaking words. An actor, for instance. He will repeat the same words people have heard many times before, but there is only one actor people will listen to with bated breath. Another they will not adore. The words are the same, but there is a vast difference in how they are declaimed. What do you think? Why does that happen? Well, that's actors for you. They spend years studying at drama school. Some are outstanding in their profession, others just so-so. They memorize their lines at rehearsals so that they can say them with expression. They are taught at drama school, Vladimir, how to get inside the image that underlies the word. Then they try to reproduce that image during rehearsals. And if an actor succeeds in projecting even 10% of the invisible images underlying the words he utters, the audience will then listen with their whole attention. And if he should succeed in projecting the images behind half of his words, you will indeed call that actor a genius. For his soul is speaking directly with the souls of those sitting or standing in the auditorium. And during the play, people will laugh or cry as they feel in their soul what the actor desires to convey. Such is the instrument of the grand Creator. And you, whenever you speak, With how many words can you project the corresponding image? 10% or 50? With all of them. That is the way great grandfather taught me. All of them. Really, all the words. Great grandfather said it is even possible to project the images contained in the letters of the alphabet, and I learned how to come up with an image for each letter. Why letters? Letters don't mean anything. Letters do mean something. Behind every letter is Sanskrit. In Sanskrit, for example, there are words, even whole phrases. There are letters too, and beyond them, many written words, so that infinity is hidden in every letter. Well, isn't that something? And we just splutter out our words. Yes, that is what happens to words that have been passed down to us over thousands of years. They have passed through and penetrated time and space, and the forgotten images underlying them still today are once more attempting to knock on the door of the human race. And they watch out for our souls and even go to war on their behalf. And what kind of words are these? Is there at least one that might be familiar to me? Of course there is, at least as a sound you have heard. But people have forgotten what underlies these words. Anastasia lowered her eyelids and sat silent for a while. Then, very quietly, almost in a whisper, she asked me, Vladimir, please pronounce the word bard. Bard, I said. She shuddered, almost as though in pain, and said, Oh, the indifference and banality in your pronunciation of that majestic word. You blew a cold gust of emptiness and neglect upon the candle's restless, flickering flame, a flame that has been connected through the centuries and possibly even addressed to you or someone else living today by a distant forebear. Forgetfulness of our derivation is the cause of our modern devastation. And just what didn't you like about my pronunciation? What should I be remembering in connection with that word? Anastasia fell silent. Then, in a quiet voice, she began uttering phrases straight out of antiquity. Long before Christ's birth, there lived certain people on the earth, our forefathers, who were called Celts. Their wise teachers were known as Druids. Many people inhabiting the earth at that time knelt before the Druids' knowledge of the material and spiritual worlds. Not a single Celtic warrior would dare unsheath his sword in the presence of a Druid. To be awarded the title of Druid, even at the starting level, they had to undergo at least 20 years of arduous training at the hands of a spiritual teacher, a Druid priest. Those who were consecrated in this domain were known as bards. They alone had the moral authority to go out among the people and sing about and inculcate the light and truth contained in their song, using words to project images and heal people's hearts. Hello, everybody. The Celts fell subject to attacks by Roman legions. Their last battle took place at a river. The Romans noticed that there were women walking among the Celtic warriors. Women with long, flowing hair. Experienced Roman commanders, though knowing what this meant, that they would have to outnumber the Celts 6-1 in order to defeat them, were unaware of the reason why. Nor do modern historians and researchers have a complete explanation. It all had to do with those unarmed women with their long, flowing hair. The Romans surged in with a mighty force, outnumbering the Celts 9-1. Aligned with their backs up against the river, the last family of fighting Celts was on the verge of defeat. They stood strong in a semicircle. Behind them was a young woman breastfeeding a wee baby girl and singing. The young mother sang a bright and cheerful song so as not to instill doleful fear in the little one's soul, so that she would be left with images of light. Whenever the little one tore herself away from her mother's chest, Their eyes would meet. The woman would cease her singing and each time tenderly utter her baby's name, Barda. Soon, there was no longer any semicircle to defend the pair. All that stood between the nursing mother and the flood of Roman legionnaires making their way along the narrow path was a young and blood-bored bard armed only with a sword. He turned to look at the woman. Their eyes met and they smiled at each other. The wounded bard managed to stave off the Romans while the woman went down to the river and put her wee baby girl into a little boat and pushed it away from the riverbank. With one last great effort of willpower, the bleeding bard threw down his weapon at the woman's feet. She took up his sword and fought for 4 hours straight, with the legionnaires on the narrow path, preventing them from reaching the shore. Their strength became spent, and they spelled each other off on the narrow path. The Roman commanders looked on in silent astonishment, but could not understand how strong and experienced soldiers could not come close enough to even scratch the woman's body. For 4 bruising hours, she fought the flood of Roman attackers. Then the woman's lungs gave out, dried up with the dehydration as no liquid had touched her tongue, and drips of blood began oozing from her cracked, beautiful lips. Slowly sinking to her knees, her strength waning all the while, she still managed one more faint smile in the direction of the little boat carrying away her wee Barda, a future songstress, downstream with the current. And one more gleam of the word and its image, which have been carried down through the millennia for the benefit of many living upon the earth today. Man's being is not only in the flesh. Man's invisible feelings, aspirations, and sensations are immeasurably sharper and greater than what can be discerned by the eye or ear. As in a mirror, they are but partially reflected in the visible material state. The baby Barda grew into girlhood and later became a woman and a mother. She lived on the earth and sang. Her songs imparted to people only bright feelings, and like the all-healing ray, helped them chase away the gloominess of the heart. Many of life's afflictions and deprivations tried to extinguish the source of this ray. The hidden forces of darkness tried to break through to it, but could not overcome the one obstacle in their way, the bard and his wife who stood looming before them on the narrow path. Man's essence is not in the flesh, Vladimir. The bard's bleeding body projected into eternity the smile of his soul's blessed light, reflecting the unseen essence of man. And the lungs of the young mother holding the sword gave out after a while. Blood dripped, then poured from the cracks in her lips, which had caught the bard's bright smile. And now, Vladimir, believe in me. Understand and see, and you will hear the ring of the invisible sword of the bard, beating back the attack of the dark and angry forces on the path to the hearts of his descendants today. Now, please pronounce the word bard once again, Vladimir. I can't. Not until I can say it with the proper meaning. Then I shall most certainly pronounce it. Thank you for not attempting it, Vladimir. Tell me, Anastasia, after all, you are able to tell who among those living today are the direct descendants of that nursing mother and the girl, the songstress, Barda, of the bard warrior who stood on the narrow path? Who can forget something as important as his ancestry? Tell me, Vladimir, why this question came to your thought. I want to get a good look at that person or persons who have forgot such things, those who do not remember where they came from, those without feeling for the same. Perhaps you want to make certain that you are not the one who is forgetting. Now what does that? Never mind, Anastasia, I've got it now. You needn't give it another thought. Let each person figure it out for themselves. Fine, she replied, and fell silent, looking at me. And I too kept silent for a time, reflecting on the pictures Anastasia had painted. And then I asked her, why did you choose that particular word as an example? To show you how the images underlying it in the real world will soon take visible form. Guitar strings in swarms are now vibrating under the fingers of today's Russian bards. Even back when I was dreaming about it all in the taiga, these bards were the first to feel the images, their hearts and their souls. At first, it was only in one of them that flared a flickering, burning flame and the delicate resonance of a guitar string. But then the souls of others caught the rhythm and joined in. Soon their songs will be heard by many, both near and far. These are the bards who will help us behold the new dawn, the dawn of enlightenment of human hearts and souls. You shall hear their songs, and these will be new songs, songs of the awakening dawn. Pardon me. Usually I don't read the footnotes in here because there's hundreds and hundreds of them and it would take forever and ever. But at the base of this chapter, there's just one, and it says, since this book was first published in 1997, Russian bards have written hundreds of songs inspired by Anastasia. Numerous song festivals have taken place throughout Russia, and multiple song albums have appeared. Many of the bards have become wanderers, traveling in groups of up to 50 singers and giving free concerts all over Russia, spreading the message of light, happiness, and the healing of the earth. You may be inspired either to share your light language and share your song and your image and your creations, to team up with others who are on that same wavelength, or even just musical appreciation, like developing a greater appreciation for art based on its resonance with the deeper images rather than its ability to stimulate dopamine or get your heart racing or remind you of something catchy so you can't forget it and you just keep going, um, to be seeking something deeper in the art that you are consuming and that you are creating. I also, before I opened up this chapter, I pulled some cards that I'm going to look at in a second. But before I close this up, in like the most intense emotional part of this chapter, I remember feeling like the Romans and the Celts, though I think we all have a really sketchy, dodgy understanding of our ancestry and our history, none of us have books written by our ancestors passed down through our families in their own words explaining what they've been through. We maybe have genetic tests that we can, get our genome deciphered and use the knowledge that we have of migration and reproduction and kind of work back and feel like we understand something about where we come from. But most of us are very, very deeply disconnected from our roots in a lot of ways. And not just like that, like it just happened that way. Also, the vast majority of us have at some point in our lives been displaced from the motherland of our family, have been taken into positions of slavery and servitude because of the like conquering of nations and cities and tribes, and through wars where we won, and then we we hold a position of authority and power over our over our little people, over our village people, over the children of war that we absorbed, and it's happened throughout history and throughout the world and throughout bloodlines and throughout cultures. It's such a prevalent part of our history that I think that there's something really deeply effective to any person hearing about this story. But I do believe that I have very strong roots in the like French, Scottish, um, European, and especially Irish bloodlines and ancestry. And whenever I connect to our very sparse and distorted historical records of the experience between the families living along the rivers and the forests, practicing their druidic and priestly traditions, being taken out and being gaslit and scapegoated and being painted as savages and subhuman. It happened to somebody. It happened to somebody you're close to that you don't even know the name of, probably. And I thought it was very interesting that this struggle between the Celts and the Romans was highlighted in this chapter, because before I turned on the camera today, I pulled a couple of index cards and I got Forgive, Scar, I got Pina Colada and Ham, and I got Jump and Cumulus. And this is kind of almost a recent past, present, future energy that I was getting off of this. But with Forgive, Scar, I was definitely getting something about, you know, a scar, a scab of a remnant of something traumatic that has happened, that is healing over, but it's still visible, it still affects you, it still feels different, you still structurally are different. Maybe you're functioning a little bit better than you were at the beginning. It's not a scab anymore, it's a scar, right? And so it could be something about forgiving yourself and forgiving the past. But Scar is also a character in The Lion King. And Scar was the younger sibling of Mufasa. And Scar lacked a respect for his elder and for his superior in a lot of ways, just like naturally with his personality and stuff. He was better suited for the position of leader in that space. But Scar became jealous of Mufasa and Mufasa's relationship with his sun, which could only almost be viewed as like a representation of your inner child. And so it's like when you grow and you become so integrated and you have all of this success and all of this creativity and you're growing in power and you're growing in influence, it's going to make certain people that feel entitled, that feel that they deserve to be in the position that you're in more than you do, to plot and scheme against you. And so people only attack you when they feel like you have power over them and they need to feel safe. So they have to have power over you just because they feel unsafe with you having power over them because they don't trust anybody. Because why would they trust anybody? Because they don't trust themselves. And so Scar plotted, eventually leading to the death of Mufasa. And Scar was in the position of leadership that he sought to attain. He got that goal, but it didn't last. And he didn't end up staying in that position of power because it wasn't his, and it wasn't natural, and it wasn't right. And he was delusional in thinking that it was supposed to be him and it should have been him. And he was selfish. If he was seeing from the perspective of the whole, he would know that Mufasa was leading to the greatest experience of everybody involved. But Scar wanted admiration because he wanted safety, because he felt small and weak and unlovable. He felt like he should be the elder sibling. He felt like he should have people viewing him as valuable, as if Mufasa and Scar couldn't both be valuable, and Scar submits to Mufasa and learns from him and maybe becomes his successor. You know, there's so many ways that this could have gone, and so it's delusion, it's just unnecessary pain and trauma and drama, and so it's very easy to feel this like hate and resentment and desire for retribution against this Scar energy. And this is like the Roman Empire. This is like the Abstinian Empire. This is like this is like the American Empire. This is like the British Empire. This is like every group of people that felt threatened by the power of the little people, that they had to ensure that they used force and manipulation to protect themselves from the power of the little people. And that is such a painful thing to look at, and it's something that is so hard to find forgiveness around. But you know, even when the Roman Empire buried us, we just became a seed. And it's lasted far too long and affected far too many people, but maybe not. Maybe that was the fuel necessary to turn these things around. And to not only turn them around, but when we have fallen and we have learned and we get back up to where we should be, we have the perspective and understanding of why where we are is so valuable. So there is something to be grateful for there. But I do feel that this is something that is happening now. In the recent past, we have all been collectively, to different degrees, encouraged to work on this very hard work of forgiving these weak, delusional, aggressive, harmful, distorted energies, people, places, institutions, communities, belief systems, egregores. Because the more we feed into hating them, the more power we give them. And we can't really ignore them anymore. That's a good way to take power away. But they really have taken over. They really have created the solution that they're at the top of the pyramid. And if we take them down, then we take all of us down. But that's because they have spent our entire lives integrating our identities in with theirs. And if we knock the tower down, we'll build a new tower. We never needed them for that. And it was just never putting us in an advantageous position in the first place. So individually in your life, in your community, in your country perhaps, collectively, globally, working on this wound, this resistance towards truly forgiving in our hearts these forces. And then in the present moment, the pina colada and ham, I was very strongly getting this like summertime and just like relax, just chill out. Just things have been so intense. Like now that you've worked on some of that forgiveness, you've created a little bit of peace and calm and space in your mind, in your soul, in your nervous system to chill out, to play in the sun, to breathe, to move without guilt and shame, and just exist. And between this summer and this fall, like the holidays, like like Christmas ham, Thanksgiving ham, like somewhere in between now and the end, like somewhere between now and this winter time, you're going to be going through a process of kind of integrating and readjusting to this new reality and to this new energy of not being constantly weighed down by the pain and the trauma of just like the knowledge of your oppressors, not even any of the experiences, but just knowing the truth and seeing the truth and looking it straight in the eyes, which is a necessary part of going through forgiveness, has been exhausting, has taken so many resources. You need to nourish yourself, you need to relax, you need to have fun, you need to focus on gratitude, you need to feel lighter because you have released something. And now that you have released something, you need to fill it up with the things that you want and focus on those things. And it may feel weird and uncomfortable and like you're not used to it and you don't know what you're doing and you're learning a new skill because you're so used to carrying 100,000-pound brick on your shoulders. And now that it's not there, maybe there's some sense of anxiety, like when's it gonna come back or what's wrong or what's going on here. And then in the future position, once you have actually fully settled into that and learned how to exist in this new reality where you're able to live without the hatred and the vengeance, without the shame and the fear, without the weight of our past, but also without disassociating from it. Being able to hold all of that at the same time. After practicing, sometime this winter, you're gonna have a decision to make. You're gonna have an opportunity to take. You're gonna have a moment where you get to choose to jump. And this may be in reference to some kind of like confirmation about actual cumulus clouds for you, but I'm not getting that from this. It's more, I don't know if they're even etymologically connected or anything, but cumulative. Like you have been putting in a little bit consistently for a long time, and your decision to put in a little bit consistently for a long time of like looking at the pain and working through that a little bit consistently for a long time, not overwhelming yourself, a little bit for a long time, not overwhelming yourself with learning how to be in the positive energy as well, accumulating the skills and the knowledge and the wisdom and the feelings and the data points and everything that you need to be ready to make this jump this winter time. for whoever this is resonating for today. That's all I'm gonna pull out today because my phone battery is dying and I have dinner plans with my mom that I gotta get ready for. So I hope y'all have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you next time. Love, light, peace, and personal responsibility. Boop.